What's up, everyone? It's been a little bit since my last video, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, who cares? So, what has been going on with the car? Well, currently, still, brother has been building the tanks for the intercooler. Those are looking awesome. So today, we're gonna get those mocked up on the core, see how everything fits. I went ahead and ran the injector harness on the manifold. I've decided I'm not going to be running NOx sensors. After talking to Holley, they told me that sometimes when you run when you have a built motor with different things, your motor should run as smooth as possible. But sometimes the NOx sensors will pick up false knock, and they've said that they've had an issue with a few cars where that was a thing. So one of the guys was talking to me, and he was like, unless you had just this stock motor and you wanted to run them, like, nothing should pop up for a knock or throw the car in limp mode, basically. But with mine, everything that's going on, it's possible. And my NOx sensors are under the valley cover, or under the intake manifold. So I could go ahead and, fasten the manifold down. But something I've ran into with using the Holley system, if you're running aftermarket gauges that are not Holley, or some kind of Dakota Digital, or something that plugs right into the harness for the Holley. Do I have some parts here? Here, a truck. Maybe I got lucky. I think I did. Well, he went to the neighbor's house, so my emotions are being played with. But every time I talk, I sound sick. It's because this neighborhood, there's so many trees and things are still blooming. It messes me up. But yeah, so if you run the Holley Dominator, I'm pretty sure Terminator, all that, they don't have inputs to easily read like odometer gauges if you're doing electronic stuff. So yeah, if I would have went manual, it really wouldn't be any simpler. It still would be the same thing, basically. So I picked up this piece here. You know what? Switch this video up. All right, so I picked this up over at Virginia Speed, and I do plan on running a oil cooler on this build because this motor was built a little looser. Also, I'm gonna run thicker oil, things like that. But with this oil cooler, the reason why I went with this, so this does not come with a port right here. I tap this, so this will go to my gauge, and then on the bottom, on this pressure side, I'm going to run that to my turbo. Now, this is just for my gauge in the car. This will be for the turbo. You can't run pressure off of this side. Maybe you could. It's flowing back into the engine. I guess, I don't know, but that's for a oil temp. Now, I do have so in the back, down there, that is the factory oil pressure sensor sending unit. Now, the Holley harness will go into that, but I think if I use that sensor, I might have to change some wiring around, so I went ahead and picked up another sensor. Actually, no, it comes with a sensor, so I'll have a sensor and the correct pins for it, or connector. Now, that's going to read, the computer is going to read off that. So that's separate from the gauges. Now that's why I don't want to go ahead and torque down this manifold, because I have to run I think I have to run an adapter and then the sensor, so with the different style sensor. So I don't really want to deal with anything being in the way. I mean, I could probably do it with the manifold on there, but it would be much easier with without anything in the way at all. Same with water temp. So you have this side over here. So on the head right there, that is the factory water temp. The computer will go to that. But for my gauge in the car, I'm going to be running one on the opposite side in that far back corner, and that will go to the gauge. So that's what's going on with that. I still need to order a boost gauge. I'm gonna do a mechanical boost gauge, super simple. I'm not gonna run any kind of sensors or anything like that. I just want it to run off of a vacuum line. Now, I may not even need to use this little nipple. I might be able to block that off. I don't have to have anything going up here either, because the map sensor is going to be remote and moved somewhere else. So there's a vacuum sensor back there, which is big for like that would be for your vacuum style brake booster. But on this car, I went with a hydraulic brake booster. It's smaller, and I don't have to run it'll provide more power to these brakes. And this cam isn't super massive, so it's not like vacuum should be a real issue. But in case there was, I don't want to run like some kind of vacuum pump to keep up with the booster. I've been in cars where the vacuum wasn't keeping up basically, and the booster just made the car feel like shit. So I'll block that off, and then I have one coming off the rear. But I don't know. I mean, I might be able to use that front one. So yeah, and then the other day I did this harness and I tucked it a little bit. So I still need to probably depin these connectors and run some like heat shrink on these wires, just to make them look super clean. Not in that way they won't stand out at all. They'll blend right in with the rails if they stay that color, and the manifold. Now, this is what the harness comes in. Is this material, which is nice. So yeah, I ran it this way, so the harness is like between the rails, the fasteners that hold on the rails, and the injectors, so that when you're on this side, you don't see a wire hanging down on your valve cover, and you don't have it coming up and sitting above. Now, for my fuel system, it's going to be dash 10 basically the whole way up, and I think I'm going to run some kind of Y, so I can, like a Y under the car, so it'll come up and split from a dash 10 into dual dash 8s. That way I'm not being restricted to a single hose. I don't want to go from a dash 10 to a dash 8 and then run one hose into the fuel rail, feeding over like a snake basically to the other side, and then have that rail going to the regulator and then my return line going back. I don't want to do that, because to me that defeats the purpose of running the dash 10. I want to make sure the car has enough fuel to do whatever I want it to do basically. I don't want it to be restricted by the hose or fittings. So that's why I'm going to do the dash 10 and Y it to a dash 8, so that way it doesn't step down into something smaller technically. It won't be restricted. And then those two hoses will go, I guess, to the injectors or to the rails, and then I guess the two hoses will go off the rails in the back to the regulator. I just got to get the right regulator, and then I think it's a dash 8 return back to the tank. So I called up Detroit Speed and had them add a return bung to the tank, because they don't come with a return bung. It's just a vented tank. So you, I guess, deadhead the system is what it's called. It's not a return bypass system. So yeah, that's pretty much what has been going on. And the UPS driver did not drop off any parts. So I did do some seam sealing in the trunk as well. It's nothing fancy. I need to go ahead and get some more paint just to, there's certain spots where there will not be any Dynamat because it'll be on the opposite side, like not the package tray, but basically where the back seat rests against. On the trunk side, I'm not going to do Dynamat on that side. I'm just gonna paint it. And then on the interior side of the car, that will have Dynamat on it. So yeah, I'll show that stuff soon. But anyways, just wanted to give y'all some updates and show y'all this little trick piece I got, and had to, modify it a little bit. But yeah, be back soon.